here very quickly. And I just want to share something. Of course, I want some feedback from you guys. So I'm going to keep this very short, to very sweet, to very simple. And so, you guys, the definition of what a Mandela effect is people assumed that Nelson Mandela, excuse me, hold on. Let me get my facts together before we jump into this. Because of course, like I said, I'm curious about some of the energies that people be out here, slaying and playing with. And I told you, see, the idea of people causing problems and creating the solution for the problems, the same ones that cause the problems, miraculously, creates the solution to these problems, and this creates a lot of things like the spirit of confusion. And I feel like a lot of people who don't know who they are, a lot of people who are not aware of who they are, they don't know their energetic identity. And this is why we know our placements. We learned our placements in the sky. We learned our energies. We learn our spiritual ancestry. We learn things about ourselves before we go out into the world, so that way when moments like this happen, we can take what we learn, or we could take what is said, we can apply it to our lives. And on top of that, we can also give a clear and understandable debate. I have a theory, and like I said, I'm going to get into this, the Mandela effect, and exactly what is the Mandela effect, because a lot of people, I think, is under some type of effect. I'm not going to say a Mandela effect, but they're under some type of effect. And it even goes along the lines of, the energy that's being sent to this planet, and how the earth is elevating her frequency, and only certain people are having their frequency elevated because they are aligned with the Mother Earth. Okay. And so either way, come on, that phone is taking forever. It's taking forever, honey. It was dead all the way. And I want to tap in on this. Okay. And I think we had it on here too, what it is. But I'm gonna keep this very, very short, y'all. Okay. Because something came up, and I think, you know what, let's address it a little bit, because I'm sure a lot of people are possibly we're going to be talking about a lot within this short time, right? Just bear with me, keep up. Okay, so let's get into. Okay, the Mandela effect refers to a phenomenon where a large group of people share a false memory about an event or detail, often related to pop culture or history. This collectively misremembering is often linked to popular culture, where people misremember things like movie lines, brand names, or characters' appearances. It's named after the false memory some people had of Nelson Mandela dying in prison despite him living to be president and dying much later. So there's some type of psychosis that has happened that causes people to develop some type of false memory. And I told you guys, in psychology, when someone is under some type of trauma, when there's a trauma that takes place, what happens is that the brain becomes fragmented, the soul becomes fragmented, and it protects the natural source of natural energy of that entity. And so what happens is it will create a false memory. It will create a false experience. And then the entity will recall something that did not happen, but it will believe this experience to be true. Okay. And of course, through therapy, you can unlock these, because a lot of you have experiences that you don't even remember, y'all. That's even scary to think about, that you've had experiences that you don't even remember because they were traumatic. They were so traumatic that the body, that your mind, that your super conscious protected you, and completely deleted this out of your memory. And I even think going into the womb too, I think that's one traumatic experience. I think that we do not have a memory of being in the womb, because that would be a traumatic experience. Although there are stories to say that we are not in the womb at all until, the last 7 months, and then the spirit enters the womb and also the good shit. But like I said, we're not, hey, we're not here to debate about that. You believe what you want, say what you want, whatever. So something was sent to me. And of course, when things are sent to me, I kind of like go check for myself because, especially with this AI shit, people can make up shit. So something was sent to me and someone wanted to, they wanted my opinion on something. And so I'm watching this video of this particular person, and I noticed that this person is always talking about homosexuality, LGBT people. I don't really see anything about lesbians when they read the LGBT. It's usually about the gay male and the transgenders. And of course, that's not shocking enough because the powers that be have always wanted, minorities to fight amongst each other. And, gay males and transgender females are, and now, the populated of transgender men are now the minority of, the LGBT community. And so, of course, what better thing to do than to have, that mammy energy fight with some homosexuals and transgenders, right? And so it's not shocking that this person, always talk about that, right? Because they represent that mammy energy. If you do not know what mammy energy is, mammy energy, in my opinion, and of course this is discussed amongst a lot of groups of people, mammy energy is a female, typically a black female, that will, grow into, womanhood, adulthood, but they really will be taking care of other people versus themselves. So they will have babies for men, but they will not require this man to marry them. They will not require this man to do anything for them, but give them a kid. Give them the D when they want it. And so either way, y'all, look into that tea, y'all. Like I said, girl, that goes into a lot. We can get into a lot. And of course, people already think that I come for certain people and I read certain people down. And I always tell people I really don't. I come from 11th place. And girl, you get it, you don't, you don't. And so either way, you guys, this black female, which has been rumored that this individual is a lesbian, down low lesbian. And this is why, we don't really hear her talk about a man. We heard her talk about her exes, but there's no current man. So allegedly this is, a lesbian. And, it's been rumored throughout these years that this person is a lesbian. And so either way, which a lot of spiritualists, by the way, have participated or is a part of some type of same-sex relation. And we're going to get into that very quickly too, because the use of the word homosexual was actually brought by the colonizers. The ancient worlds did not use the word homosexual. The ancient worlds did not use the word homosexual. They used what they call same-sex relations, and it was actually celebrated. Okay, some cultures, some societies, they wanted it to be kind of like a DO thing. And that's, I think, in modern day society in America, the DO community, predominantly black males, they're very, secretive about their homosexuality and lifestyle, because the ancient world, the ancient Asian world, the ancient African world, that's what it was about. Even some ancient European, cultures, they were also about secrecy and not really telling. And so, of course, this person is always talking about the LGBT and as if it's some made up stuff. And I always tell y'all this, two things, the Mandela effect, and I feel like it's some type of spell, some type of, energy that's put on certain people. And I feel like what they say, the weak dog, the hit dog hollers. I think that the Mandela effect is deeper than what we think. I think that a lot of us, especially those who are traumatized, because once again, at the beginning of this video, I said that the Mandela effect is the false memory of events happening, particularly pop culture and or in history. And I tell you that when it comes to psychology, when a person has experienced trauma, okay, because people just forget that, as a whole, we all suffer from trauma. People forget about that. Nobody want to talk about that. Like, we want to talk about being cute. We want to talk about being special. We want to talk about all this stuff, but nobody want to go to the root of the problem of why we're sick, why collectively we're not manifesting, why collectively things are not going the way that they should, that we're actually delayed. Okay. even like I said, as whole, we should be a type 1 civilization, and we're still fucking type 0. We're still in the infancy of of human civilization. Okay? Not my words, that's what scientists say. And so either way, the trauma goes real deep. And so I'm watching this video, and this person is saying that she was told by a random person that, multiple things. And she was like, whatever. She gave an example of an old TV show. And I'm like, I love that TV show. Never heard of any of those members. I think they had a thing that there was 3 of the people on this show. 2 of them are dead. 1 of them are still living, kind of like the Betty White situation. But then they went along and they said that Wendy Williams has been deceased for many, many years. And I'm just like, what type of Mandela effect is these people? And like I said, I don't know if other people is experiencing this. Like I said, I don't know, but it's very telling about how people who are trauma experienced, who have not worked through their trauma, they are breaking and cracking every day right before your eyes. They're coming across as having a spiritual awakening, but they're really having a breakdown of the psyche, which is also called psychosomatic disease. And we also get into the energetic sources, also known as the chakras, because they said that's an illusion, and we went over that a couple of months ago, where this occultist turned Christian was talking about how the chakras imitate Christianity, when clearly the stories about the chakras predate Christianity. Okay, predate Christianity. And we're talking about human history, not a fairy tale book that people are talking about. Okay, because nobody has met God personally, face to face, to say, God, when exactly was this book written? Was this written 20,000 years ago, a billion years ago, 9 years ago, 9,000 years ago? When was this written? And so either way, the people are reiterating their slave masters under the Mandela effect, y'all. This is still under the Mandela effect. They are reiterating the words that the slave masters told them. And to be respectful, we're going to say colonizers taught them. They are reiterating the narcissistic, pompous, misogynistic, self-hating ass energy that their colonizers gave to them. Because remember, the Europeans that made their way over into America were exiled out of Europe. Okay? Proven fact. History proven. Real. Authentic. They did not freely say, I want to leave out of Europe. It's so beautiful here. Let's see what's over here in this American country. That's a bullshit ass story, y'all. They were exiled out of Europe, and that's how they made it over here to the Americas. Okay? And so they taught you the same self-hate. And like I said, I'm just speaking facts here, because baby, when the spirit of ignorance reign over your life and you start to realize it, because like I said, I like to educate people. You will start to realize why exactly your life generationally, because maybe you could be the first to break that generational curse. You'll start to realize why generationally you have not prospered. Why generationally you are still stuck in a certain, what they call, impoverished mindset. It's not the white man. It is the system. It is the spell work that they put on you. And even in the same video, this individual was talking about the spell work and how they're attacking the black household and that these spells need to be reversed. And I'm like, that's what I've been saying all these years. The stories about the slave, them coming out with a slave movie every so often, reiterating the story to you when you were also slave owners, when you were also owners of people. You also enslaved people. And some of them looked like you as well. So like I said, let's not overlook that. If we're going to talk about a truth, let's talk about all the truth. Let's say it all on the table. And so this individual was going into Wendy Williams dying, and that's when I was like, oh shit, this person's losing their mind. I said, oh girl. And there's a lot of people that think this. There are a lot of people that's going down this rabbit hole. Baby, the system, the matrix, what they're doing systematically, energetically, and spiritually, it has manifested. People are now getting fucked up if they really are believing what they're saying. Because, of course, I think that this person is also kind of like a troll. When I was sitting and stuff, I was like, girl, bye. And so either way, y'all, they're always talking about homosexuality, and they were trying to break down, Baphomet energy. And there's one thing about me, y'all. I love researching history. Throughout my whole, elementary, post-secondary education, I was into history. Everything was history, history. I love history. Okay. I love researching. I love hearing different stories. That's why even going into multicultural, I love talking to other people in other parts of the world to say, hey, what did they teach you about the slaves in America? If they taught you anything, I'm into that. And so either way, they were going over the history of the Baphomet and how it was modeled after a black woman. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, is this real human history? Is this the story of the colonizer and wherever she got it from, of them telling this individual that? Because the Baphomet represents good and evil, dark and light, male, female, going against the grain, being separate but still being together. It is literally a oxymoron. It's a symbol for we're separate, but yet we're still together. And that's to also separate the lower from the upper. As you know, that every society has a hierarchy. Okay. And we know that in every society, in every hierarchy, there's levels to that. Right. And so maybe on the lower level of a particular hierarchy, or like I said, however they got this information, I don't know how they got it. I don't know how they got the information, but there was never any type of documentation. There's no proven fact. There's nobody talking about, including the person who created the imagery of Baphomet, that it was modeled after a black woman. Like I said, I think that a lot of people become very narcissistic and they become very pompous. Once again, that's how the slave master were, right? They were very narcissistic, they were very psychopathic, and they were very pompous. Everything was about them, them. And so even going into the idea of that homosexuality is only a white thing, I'm like, girl, this is what you were taught. Like, it's very telling about what type of mentor, what type of even family, because I think that a lot of people's family, what they call wives' tale, just made shit up. Maybe they were afraid, kind of give me the King James story. Maybe they were afraid of, certain ancient practices coming up. Because we're going to talk about worship and veneration of the ancestors during the time that the Orishas were first even introduced to civilization. There were same-sex relations that happened. Can we talk about it, or is that a little too deep for y'all? Okay, before like I said, we want to talk about ancestor veneration. We want to talk about we're proud of our culture. We want to tap into our ancient African ancestry, but yet we're the first ones to condemn and talk about homosexuality as if that was not. And like I said, homosexuality was not a common practice, and it was actually forbidden because that's what the colonizers told y'all. What they preferred to it as was same-sex relations, which has happened throughout ancient Africa, ancient Egypt, ancient Arabia, ancient Europe. Okay, and like I said, a lot of societies it was not acceptable publicly, but they had celebrations of same-sex relations. They had celebrations of even, and y'all, this is a little, disturbing, but they even had situations of pedophilia. They celebrated that, even going into ancestral. Like I said, this is things that people don't want to talk about, but it's a part of human history. And so even going into the idea that the white man, has full control over, homosexuality and the LGBT, and they supported this, they supported that. Little do you know that all the information that they get come from the archons. And if you don't know, the archons are black people. So in essence, everything does come from a black person, a black energy. But like I keep telling y'all, I will continue to say, what modern day black look like now, that's not what ancient black looked like. What you see right now, the paintings, what the colonizers, what the people that wanted to give his story, his accountability, his encounter, they're depicting that this is what it looked like. Remember, there's only so much shades when it comes to painting that these cultures were able to paint things with, right? And so, like I said, these paintings of what these people looked like they don't look like modern day black folks. Okay, so don't, like I said, don't get too much like, well, it's us, baby. Like I said, baby, you're half breed. You're a duplication of the original, baby. You've been blood down. You've been red down. You've been rinsed off. You've been tampered with, girl. You're not pure. You're not pure, baby. Okay. And so, either way, going into ancient Africa, like I said, there's so many ancient tribes, y'all. There's so many ancient tribes. And if you want to, you could do your own research on this, where there's ancient tribes like the Maasai people, the Asgandi people, where they celebrate, like I said, same gender, same sex marriages, right? Or situations, relationships. And to even go deeper than that, do you know that your ancestors went on voyagers or voyages and they went on hunting sprees? And like I said, this might hurt a little bit because the truth hurts. The truth hurts, and I even said this, and I'll continue to say this. There's a good chance that your grandfather was a DL homosexual. There's a good chance that your daddy is a DL homosexual. There's a good chance that you are a DL homosexual. You are a DL lesbian. You are having feelings for the same sex and you cannot admit to it. And that makes a lot of people upset. That rubs the wrong way. But like I said, that has always been the ancient worlds, the ancient civilizations. They celebrated diversity. They did have a hierarchy. They did have levels because you had white slaves, you had black slaves, you had orange slaves, you had blue slaves. Can we talk about it? And that's why even going into TV shows, when they do TV shows of ancient worlds like the Viking stuff, girl, they depict black people amongst these white folks because that's how it was. The colonizers who came into this land, who came over here to this country, known as USA or Turtle Island, they gave you a whole nother story and said, baby, we were separated. We were separated. We didn't have the same energy. We didn't do the same tea. And so that's what they were telling y'all. And that's the stories that people kept, right? And so, like I said, do your research on ancient homosexuality or ancient same-sex relations. Do your research on that. And going into your ancestors hunting and stuff. You know that these hunters will go hunting and they'll be gone for days and days and weeks and sometimes months, and some of them never even came back. Do you know that there were civilizations and societies, is what they called them, societies of people who were adopting the younger guys as the makeshift wives? And do you know that the prison culture was modeled after these ancient societies? Do you know that the modern day prison culture, especially in America, is modeled after a lot of ancient practices? Going into even the warden, even going into the warding and where that comes from. So it's like if you're going to talk about a group of people, you're going to talk about people being envious and people being jealous of anybody in any way, shape, or form, baby. It's better that you educate yourself on what it is that you're really talking about. It is a proven fact. Maybe while you're upset about the gay boy, the transgender, whatever, however, your man might be dicking them down. Your man might be in that DM asking them for some mouth. While you over here talking about, and see, that's why I keep telling people, because I gotta let you down softly, and then I gotta just smash it to you before I get the fuck up out of here. That's why a lot of you be so upset. A lot of you so-called heterosexual identifying women, you be so upset at these gay boys and these transgenders and these feminine men and shit. You be so upset because you be sitting up over there with nothing but a baby, and possibly a few of them aborted, some STDs, STIs, and you're wondering, how is this man so free and so happy, and what is he doing? Then he gets in fights with you and he leave out the house. A lot of times he gets in the fight with you and leave out the house because he about to go see his gay lover, which is sometimes his best friend. Hello, can we talk about it? It's sometimes his best friend. When it comes to real men don't have friends like that. When it comes to real men, authentic men, chief, bosses, masters, they do not have friends like that because men are very suspicious of other men. They know that they're hunters. They know that they're predators. So they don't trust these predators around anything of theirs, including their family. So always remember that. When you have a man, you have a husband, you have a boyfriend, whatever, and he got all these road dogs around him, more than likely he getting dicked down or he dicking somebody down. And like I said, I know that bothers a lot of you because that bothered me too. The idea that my man might potentially be into a freak of nature, a man who's whatever however you see the LGBT. That is bothersome. It will bother me too, especially if I thought that I had one up on the people. Especially if I thought because I have a poom poom that stays wet and I'm able to give birth that I have one up. A lot of men don't care about kids. A lot of men don't care about having children. A lot of men, what they care about is getting their money up and fucking as many women as they can. I hate to break it to you, that's just what it is. Okay, very few of them, and it's kind of like a lottery because I said there's more women than there are men out here in this world, right? A very few of them actually do want to have a family. They actually do want to build with a woman. They actually are interested in having children and building off their legacy and all that. But on the other side, like I said, a lot of them, bro, they just have kids because they're like, well, somebody got to take over when I'm dead and gone. But they don't really care to be around that. They don't care to be around that. Okay, and even going into, like I said, a good percentage of them don't care to be around women. Okay, a very shocking, sad fact. Y'all have seen the videos of these thugs turning into women. Y'all saw videos of these hardcore gangsta boo type of people becoming cross dressers and shit. Why is that? That's not an agenda. That's not society making them be that way. It's factual. It's what they saw. It's what they, and not, them saying the cross dressing and all that, but them saying, like, I really don't want to be the man. I don't want to be the strong, dominant one. And of course, because women are resilient, because women are courageous, because women are strong, they decided to take on the dominant role, because they're seeing that the man is lacking that. And that's why we have a lot of modern day dominant women. That's why we have a lot of hormonal imbalances when it comes to women. And of course, scientifically, people say, well, it's the food, it's the diet, it's this, it's that. Well, not every woman has that type of hormonal imbalance and they eat that food too. So is that something spiritual? Or is that something scientifically that is altering everybody? Can we talk about it? Is it like a lottery? Like only certain people get altered by, their DNA get altered by the food, the DNA and RNA? Or is it just, girl, the weak and the strong, the weak versus strong? I don't know. But like I said, just something to kind of think about. When you're sitting up in your room and you're like, I'm about to do a video today on a homosexual. I'm about to do a video and talk about homosexuals versus Satan. Like, girl, what? Do you not understand that it has always been the colonizer's dream to see minorities go at it? Do you not understand that? Do you not understand that it's always been the dream? And we can even take it back a little step further. It's always been a dream of men to see their woman go at it. It's always been, exciting for men to see their lovers go at it. Whether that's two men, two women, a man and a woman. So, girl, they're sitting back and they're enjoying it. That's why every now and then, you have the foo-foos, the fools that join in, the simps as they call it, the ones that can't think, the nimrods, the one that can't think for their motherfucking self. Can we talk about it? They want to jump in, they want to, bash the homosexual, comfort homosexuals, girl. And it's just like, girl, you have no dog in this fight. You have no dog in this fight, sir. Step back over there and worry about what you got going on. Worry about what you're going to be doing for your children. You're the man, you're the provider. Worry about you providing for these children. Stop worrying about what the women or the sissies are doing. The sissies and the women can handle themselves. Honey, the woman can read the sissies down, the sissies can read the women down. But of course, they both are not listening. They don't really give a fuck. They don't want to hear what each other are saying. But the bottom line is, girl, there's only one common denominator, girl. You both want the penis. And clearly you're both getting a penis. So what's really the problem here? And then to go into like some type of educational rant as if you're educating people on some type of ancient history. Sister, and I haven't said this before and I will say this again. People have all this knowledge and wisdom when it comes to other communities, other cultures, other people. But why not apply the same knowledge and stuff? Because like I said, I practice what I preach. I put my magic where my mouth is. Everything that I talk about is everything that I've experienced, that I've survived. So I'm not going to be sitting here telling you how to get something and I ain't got it. Hello? Or I'm not able to get it. I'm not going to be sitting here talking about how I'm so grand and I'm so much better than you all and this and that. But yet, bitch, you do a fact check on me. Girl, I'm not. I'm really not. I'm just like you. Like, that's not how it goes. But like I said, I don't really hold these people accountable because they're programs. A lot of these people are just, like I said, they're repeating what they were taught by their colonizers. And of course, they're not them directly, but their big mama, their mama, their grandmama, their great grandmother, they have that mentality. They were taught the same mentality. And so, of course, they come out and they act like the homosexuals are the problems. The homosexuals are not fucking with you, babe. You're not having children by the homosexuals. I mean, if you are, that's your business. I'm just saying, you're not getting impregnated by these transgenders and these sissies. Why is your content, why is your discussions not for the men who are getting you pregnant and leaving you? Where's the energy for that? Everybody got their opinion for shit, like I said, but where's the opinions that actually matter for you? Where's the proof that you actually are who you say you are? Because I even love when people use the words interchangeably when they're using definition or they're using terms and they make up their own definitions. They'll use words like boule and think that everybody who gets into a fraternity is a part of the boule. They'll use word like the black household, the black structure. And I'm just like, what does that even mean? And like I said, it's giving me some type of like, they told you what to say and now you're saying what you were taught how to say, because like I said, in my mind it doesn't make sense. Y'all, I was watching a video 2 days ago, and I'm really gonna be done because I said I won't be here that long. I was watching a video 2 days ago, and there's a guy who goes around and he documents people in all walks of life all around the world. The past few videos I've been seeing, I believe he's been like all in America, like going to the dirty South, the deep South, where they were still having slavery up until like 1970s. By the way, y'all, who would have thought that, right? Up until Mississippi and stuff, they had slavery up until like 1972 and stuff, y'all. You're supposed to be free, and they were still hiring and treating certain races as animals and shit, y'all. It's crazy. But this man grew up in that type of stuff, y'all, in the dirty South, and this one in particular. And he literally was going around and he was showing his city, like, this is the jailhouse, this is the postal house, this is the courthouse. And y'all, these are like little tiny shack. Now, this man was probably in his 50s, maybe 60s. Okay. So these are little tiny shack buildings. And I'm like, damn, you would have thought, girl, this is like the 1800s, the way that he was showing this. But no, y'all, it was literally 30, 40, 50 years ago when all this happened, right? And so either way, he was saying that his mind changed. He said, I had to get out of this area because I was seeing all the prejudice, I was seeing all the racism, and I didn't want to see that. So I had to get up out of here. Once I became of age, I hit it and I did not look back. This man, out of all his siblings, ended up marrying a nurse. This man ended up becoming a very successful business owner. When he was going around showing his siblings and stuff that still had their old mindset, because they were still in that house, they were still in that area. One of the sisters lived in the house that they all grew up in, so it was a tiny, like, ran down house falling apart. And then the other sister never showed her house, but the vehicle she drove, was given, low income or whatever. But either way, him and his wife, they were in a very nice home. It was very clean. It was very new. It wasn't like the biggest. It wasn't the most, wealthiest home, but it was a representation of his mentality. And even the guy who was interviewing him, y'all, was a white man. And you would have thought going into a city where there are, because of course this is what I've seen. I've never encountered this personally, but I've seen videos of like white folks going into like country cities, southern country cities, and the black folks are like, what does this white man want? And they're talking like that. And oh, there's a white man. Yes, sir, yes, sir. They act like these, whatever. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. The fact that this man was talking to this black man, and this black man was still nice to him. He wasn't being submissive. He was being respectful to this man. He could have had anger. He could have said, bitch, I want to pay you back for what your ancestors did to me and my people. Even when I was a kid, I had to work those fields. I had to pull the corn. I had to get the hay. I had to get the cotton. And if I didn't, I got my ass whooped. This man, as an older man, y'all, he was a kid in the late 60s. That's how old this man is. He found it within his heart somewhere to let that stuff go and not let that stuff get him together. And y'all, that blew me away. When I saw this video, that blew me away, because I'm like, at the end of the day, a lot of us are victims, but we choose not to get on that role. We choose not to play that role. And we really believe in who we say we believe ourselves to be. If we say that we're powerful, we say that we're successful, we say that we're happy, and even goes down to the bottom line of you loving yourself. Y'all, he was in an era of time where there was still segregation going on in the South. But this man had it in his mind that when I get old enough, I'm getting up out of this shit. I don't want to be in this shit. Found it within himself, got it together, and like I said, he's an older man talking to a white man. He's not hateful. He's not upset. This man had found peace. Going into his sisters, the way they were kind of looking at this white man, they were like, bitch, we don't trust this motherfucker. We're going to watch. Like, girl, everywhere this man went, they went. And so I'm saying all that to say that, baby, putting your energy where it is, or putting your magic where your mouth is, or you claiming that you're that girl, that you're that boy, that you're that boss, baby, your life is going to become that. If you're still sitting back saying, well, I'm like this because my parents like this, I was taught not to be like that, girl, you're a victim and you like playing the victim role. And it's where we're on that. We can no longer condone that. We can no longer condone and keep giving passes to people who choose to stay in their ignorance, who choose to stay under their control or the control of their colonizers, who choose to still speak and talk as if they're still enslaved. We can no longer condone that. We can no longer, well, it's because they're older. It's because they're from the South. It's because that's what they've been through. You can't really tell them how to get over. Excuse me? Baby, if we all held on to our experiences that we had, our prejudices, our judgments, girl, this world would be a fuck the best place. Somebody gotta be the mature one. Somebody gotta grow the fuck up. Somebody gotta realize that, baby, your story is meant to propel you even further, and that way when you have children and grandchildren, you can tell them the story about what you've been through and how you brought them here. Because see, that's what I took from my ancestors when they told us their stories about what they did and what they've been through and their sleepless nights, and them only sleeping 3 hours a night and all that good shit, and working till the skin on their hands got rough and built calluses, breaking arms and losing limbs. When they were telling those stories to myself, to me, it made me say, I am so grateful that they sacrificed to get here. I'm so grateful and so thankful that they fought through their sacrifices to make sure that I was here. And a lot of them weren't even thinking about that. They weren't even saying, I got to survive because I'm going to have grandkids one day. I got to survive because I'm going to have kids one day. Just something in them made them stood up and become the person that God ordained them to be. See, we get up out of the spiritual shit. You know, we talk about we being spiritual, but we get up out of spiritual shit. We talk about how we're so spiritual, we're so intertwined, and we know spirit, and we know magic, and we're occultists and all this shit. But yet we still talk like we're mundane, and we're still ruled by man. You're not ruled by anybody who's in the flesh. Can we talk about it? You're not ruled by anybody who's in the motherfucking flesh. You better wake up. You better wake up. And you don't owe it to you can't blame anybody else for your shortcomings. You can't blame anybody else for what you lack, because baby, it's you that has to believe in you. It's you that have to truly say, I believe in spirit. It's you that have to truly say, I believe in God. And like I said before, and I'll continue to say, bitch, it's all a mockery. It's all a joke to me. You say you're a Christian and you're still moving like you're an enslaved individual. You're not a Christian, and I don't want to hear it about Christianity. You're sitting there talking about how you're a spiritualist and you're set free, because that's what spirituality is. You're set free. You are adorning. You are venerating. You are nurturing the spirit that's within. And you know that spirit has no gender. It has no race. It has no religion. But then to come out and say you're a spiritualist, but yet still talk about ignorant ass shit. Still be stuck and have the demons that you've yet to conquer still owning you, still working over you, but coming out as if you're victorious. Since you got a lot to learn. Collectively, we have a lot to learn. Collectively, we have a lot to learn. And that's what I'm going to leave it at. Okay? I'm going to leave it there. Like I said, Mandela effect, Wendy dying, is that drugs? Is that sleep deprivation? Or is there really some type of experience going on where people are just having these false ass memories? Okay? To Wendy Williams passed away. Like I said, I haven't seen it, honey. That was the first time somebody said that to me. I was like, girl, wait, what you trying to say? Baby, hello? I know for a fact Wendy did not die. I know for a fact there's no Mandela effect of Wendy passing away. Like, girl. And that's what I was thinking too. Like, I think a couple of years ago, Wendy was talking about her mother passing away, and then it resurfaced, you know, a year or two later. And in a candid interview, she's talking about it. Like, I believe that happened. But how did they get her talking about her mother passing away and the family discussing the mother's funeral and how the brother and Kelvin got into it? I mean, girl, it was some crazy ass shit. But people were talking about some Wendy passed away. Like, girl, what the fuck is going on, girl? Like, what's really going on? And like I said, hey, y'all, yeah, listen, y'all want these people to be your spiritual advisors, not me. Like I said, girl, I'm just saying. Like I said, girl, we're open book, girl, honey. Ain't no motherfucking way I'm gonna tell you how to master something I haven't mastered myself. Miss Thing needs to worry about, and I'm talking this thing directly, girl. Miss Thing need to worry about getting her a man, making amends to the fucked up shit she done to these other men, the father, aka the father of her children. She needs to be worried about patching that up, getting forgiveness, cleansing the spirit, releasing that, and getting a man again if she's into men. Because it's a little questionable, honey. I don't know what woman want to get older and stay alone, but they like men. I don't know that. I don't know. I don't know. Hello. Maybe if you are not really into men, you don't care about getting a man. You don't care about that. Oh, I don't need a man. Okay. Okay, babe. If you were single, I could say that. You have children, though, babe. So when they have kids, there's no grandpa in the picture? There's no pawpaw? Huh? Hello? Like, girl, make it make sense. And so, anyway, that's pretty much it, honey. Let me see if there's anybody up there. Come on in here. I was watching the old videos. Come on in here, Jay. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Jazz had to stop by very quickly because, of course, I just wanted to understand some things about these Mandela effects. These people that are claiming, a lot of stuff. They're claiming to be occultists. They're claiming that they know information of ancient. And just like, but where are you getting this information from, babe? Where are you getting this information from? Because clearly, if you have the information about that shit, that means you know the real, and that means you wouldn't have ever, because that information is older than you. So when did you stumble across this so-called information? If you've always known about this stuff since you were like, what they say, knee-high to a grasshopper, then how did your life become the way it became? Hello? How did your life become the way it became? Like, that's the real question. If you really understand energies and you understand how these things work and the philosophy behind all things, but like I said, why don't you apply these philosophies to your own life? As a lot of us do. In order to be a teacher, you have to have been a student. In order to be a great master, you have had to have been a great servant. Can we talk about it? And that's what it comes down to. Okay? And so anyway, that's pretty much it, honey. Love and light, twospiritmystic.blogspot.com, two eight spirit mystic.gmail.com. Y'all, I'm gonna go, honey. Quality. Listen, I was on my way to bed when I got the information. I was like, so is there a lot of people that think that Wendy passed away? Is that, they putting out fake ass videos of Wendy and shit? Is there a lot of people that believe that? That there's a Mandela effect going on with that? Hello? And that's the real question. Like, what's going on, honey? Is it the drugs? Is it the sleep deprivation? Is it the energy that Donald Trump and his administration is putting out? And only the strongest are going to survive it, and the weakest are being hit by these false memories and shit. Like, I really want to know. Okay. Anyway, y'all. Bye for now. Love and light, love and truth.